Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today we have a very special episode. We're bringing on Andreas Pettersson, and let me tell you, for all of you that have been watching this show for a long time, you know I love talking about books. I love selling books. I love bringing authors on here to talk about books, especially when they're mission-based and they match our platform. And really, I feel they're bringing something out to the world. So first off, Andreas, congrats and welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a journey to write a book.
All right, so we're going to get into this. So, Power Without Permission. I understand that you collaborated with 13 extraordinary women leaders to create this book, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But to get this episode started, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Andreas, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, for leaders out there. That's what we do. Andreas, what mission matters to you?
First of all, I love your mission, and it's one of the reasons why I'm proud to be working with you on my own podcast. So, my mission, though, is to make sure that women's brilliance is impossible to ignore. And I want to do that by replacing the whole permission culture. And I'm not saying that women needs to be fixed or anything like that. I think the systems are broken. I think this is one of the reasons why I wrote this book, Power Without Permission, because I have sat in these boardrooms, I have sat in CEO positions, leadership positions, and for some reason, the system is just pushing down these brilliant, amazing, badass, like super capable women. And I want to change that.
So first off, love having mission-based individuals on here to share why they do what they do, how they do it. I mean, sharing stories like this inspires others. This gives other people permission to speak and to get involved and get in the game, as I like to say, and even to create content. So just to get us kicked off here, so I of course want to go further into the book side of things and what you're doing there, but let's go back into your career a little bit more. So you mentioned that you've been in business in the past. Like, how'd you start your journey as an entrepreneur or business leader?
So first of all, English as second language. I'm Swedish originally. I moved to US 2014. Started out in an incubation team, incubation ventures up in the Bay Area. Then 2017, we spun off a separate company that I was CEO, a tech company, cloud-based video surveillance and cybersecurity, a lot of AI early wave. I did that for 7 years. I was CEO there. And then in November last year, I decided that my mission mattered more to me than just collecting a very nice paycheck.
And so as you decided to make that, I like talking about somebody when they do a transition or something else, because I'll tell you one thing, when I left corporate America and I got into the media and podcasting and all this, people thought I was like, they're like, what are you talking about, Adam? Like, why? I mean, I left a 14-year career to start something new. Now, 9 years going on 10 years later. Okay, we're doing pretty decent, but in the beginning it wasn't that way. And I'll tell you, my peer group, they were like, Adam went crazy. Like, what's going on? Like, are you serious? I'm curious in your end. Now, that might not have been your experience. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but what was it like when you decided to make that leap and to pursue mission and all these other things you're doing? Like, what was that like for you?
Two things. One, I had the exact same story as you. I'm part of several CEO peer network, and they're like, what are you doing? And I was
all my VC friends, everybody, they're like, we're going to do interview. What?
No, and I'm not kidding, Adam. Like, I was offered another very lucrative gig 3 months after I left November last year. And
Wow.
I want to say 2 months ago, almost 2 months ago, I was in discussions with another company. I'm not ready. Like, it's the brain versus heart.
Yeah.
And so the second thing I would say on this topic, and for any listeners out there, if you have founded a company, you have grown it up. We were 150 people, and they were like family to me when we merged with another company. You give up a piece of your identity, your soul. And the first 3 months, I went through this like, what am I doing? Like, I miss all the people, I miss all the interactions. But at the same time, I felt after 7 years and working for almost 20 years, I felt like I need to do something that I've been wanting to do for years. And
Mm,
I created this bucket list before I left. Three things. I wanted to start my own podcast. I
mhm,
wanted to write a book, and I almost saying it now in public. Okay, I wanted to do a TED talk. Those were sort of my
mm,
reset things I wanted to do, and why they're all on the same topic, and the topic we're talking about here today. Um,
mm,
so basically, heart over brain.
mm. Obviously, this topic is one that you're very passionate about. To be able to get the book together and to do all this, what was there? Was it a moment? Was it a progression? Like, as entrepreneurs, we get ideas when we go to sleep. We got an idea, or we got somebody. Especially when you want to help people. Like if that's your route, and even if you don't want to help people, if you're an entrepreneur, you're thinking all the time about ideas. So, how did you settle on like, this needs my attention again? So, was it a aha moment? Was it a progression? Like, how'd you know this is something that you would be working on?
So I love this question. There are a couple of reasons. The number one is I was raised by a single mom who
Mm,
was very strong, but was
mhm,
never given an opportunity. She was still an amazing leader. And we grew up as poor as you can grow up in Sweden. There's still a
mhm.
good healthcare or health system there,
Yeah.
or system or social system that helps you. But I always saw how she struggled. She's smart. Others
Mhm.
always came to her for advice on leadership, even in business, and she
Wow.
always took the time to help people. And I last year when I left, um, so that was the catalyst. Growing up with a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
strong, authoritative woman that was still very warm, and for me, authority isn't a masculine or a feminine thing.
Yeah.
Authority for me is just you can be a woman and have massive authority, and the same you can
Mhm.
be a man. But I grew up with very strong women around me. I also saw in the public, like I mean, Sweden is 4 or 5 in the most equal between men and women in the world. I
Mm.
saw that growing up, and we grew up with Pippi Longstocking. There
Yeah.
can't be a better representative of a strong woman leader. But when I moved to US, I was shocked. I was shocked about
Mm.
how unequal it is. So for the last almost 1.5 decade. I've been in US for 11 years, but I started
Mm.
this already living in Europe. I've been mentoring women and people of diversity to get into higher positions. Another way of saying it,
Wow.
people that are, and I've been doing that for free.
Mhm.
Even when I was CEO and collecting a very nice paycheck, I still had 4 to 5 people I always mentored, and most of
Mm.
them were women and women of diversity, even. And then I recognized the pattern, and
Yeah.
then, like, that's where my passion comes from. I wanna see a change. I keep seeing these brilliant, amazing, powerful women, and
Mhm.
the system is either, like, not giving them a chance, or they don't have the tools. I don't believe confidence is something that is a personality trait. I think
Mhm.
confidence is something you can develop with through micro actions and just recalibrating your cognitive negative bias, and
Mhm.
you can develop that, and then you will get the opportunity. And I'll drop one more
Yeah.
stat that is just crazy here, and then we'll take the next question. And that is that most women, like I think it's over 70%, feel like an
Mhm.
imposter, feel like they doubt themselves. And most
Wow.
women make decisions when they have 95% of the data and feel confident doing something, while
Mm.
men do it when they have 30% of the data and they don't feel the same amount of imposter. So the combination
Mm.
of both. And I wrote this book because I realized there is a pattern that I can break.
Wow. That's kind of that is one of the most interesting topics, thought processes around imposter syndrome. And the data is, I'll tell you my really quick story on the data for that. I didn't know that until we did, and we're not going to talk about this today, but just I don't want to throw off the interview, but we did a quick, or we did a compilation book similar to what you're doing, an anthology, and we featured different women leaders. And this is, oh my gosh, we're probably on like edition 3 or something like that now. And this was maybe 3 years off the top of my head. This particular edition, I think, was about 3 years ago, and we've done more since. But the point is, when I get the book at the end, and I serve a different role than yourself. You're curating, you're writing with. For myself, I'm more of the managing editor, and I do the production and things like that. So I don't see the book until it's done, basically. I do the initial approvals, but I don't see it till it's done. It goes through it goes through the whole factory before I see it. So I'm reading the final book to give the final approval, and let's just say off the top of my head, there's 15 people in it roughly. Of those 15, and these authors don't talk to each other, by the way, they're all leaders in their own space, but it's not like a cohort. Like, these are all completely separate, independent authors. Of those 15 authors, maybe 8 to 10 of them independently referenced or mentioned imposter syndrome in each chapter.
Yeah.
And I was just like, when I was reading it, I'm like, how is this possible? How is this possible? How is this possible? And then it got to exactly what you're saying. I looked up the data and I'm like, oh my gosh. And the only reason I bring that up is because I want more leaders out there to do things like what you're doing, to do things like what we're doing. Like, there's no competition here. Like, I hope every publishing company brings out an anthology to focus on women and to focus on elevating their stories as well. So that's why I tell that story, because I think more people should get involved, and more people should use their access, their power, their resources to do exactly what you're doing.
I love
So
that.
I had to give you that one, Andres, though, because it was
No,
insane. I was reading it, and because I didn't study, I didn't know I'm reading it, and I'm like, how is this possible?
and
This
you
is
want to do something about it. So you are
yeah.
what I define as a perfect male ally. And there are two things that got to change if we want to change. We got to change top down. Like, most companies today
Hmm.
are run by men, to stereotype white,
Yeah.
chubby, middle-aged guys. And
Hmm.
I want to change that. And how do you change that? You change it by creating male allies at the top, and then you work with and enable. Like, these women are already brilliant, and like you
Yeah.
said, but imposter syndrome grabs hold of people.
Yeah.
And you can actually, after the last, I want to say, 1.5 decade, I've been working with people to kill imposter syndrome. I used to have imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Remember how I said I grew up with just primarily women?
Yeah.
Maybe that was part of
I
my
have it
upbringing.
now. What are you talking about? Used to. I
Yeah,
got it right now. I'm like, what? All these people around the world watching this. Thank
no,
you.
but I have it, and I work with leaders who makes tens of millions of dollars a
Yeah.
month,
Yeah.
and they still have doubt and imposter syndrome. The
Mm.
difference is, there's one key thing I've noticed in the trend over all these years:
Mm.
micro actions. When
Mm.
people start taking just one little step forward and doing one thing different, their logical mindset, their frontal cortex, or the logical reasoning in their head, they start slowly shifting to, maybe I can do this. But it
Mm.
takes a long time. What I want to change, Adam, is I want to change how we talk about this. I used to have
Mhm.
imposter syndrome. I worked with a psychologist for almost 10 years to overcome some of these things. I
Yeah.
was the CEO. I was still having imposter syndrome. When I wrote this book, I was still having it. The
Mhm.
difference is, I recognize it in 2 seconds, I quiet the voice, and I take action and move forward.
Mm.
That's the difference. So I know the feeling, and I know, and for me, it shifted into what I call an insecure overachiever.
Yeah.
It's someone who's never happy, that always keeps striving for something higher, but you still feel, I don't belong here. You
Yeah.
feel doubt. But I have learned to manage that as well. But the pattern is so clear. Luckily, I worked
Mhm.
as a CEO of a very well-funded company, and I could afford really good help
Mhm. Yeah.
for the 10 years I was an executive. The pattern is almost always the same, of how to overcome it and
Mm.
how to work with it. And all the women in the book have overcome it to some extent,
Mhm.
some more and some less. Many of them are people I have been mentoring and coaching, and some
Mm.
of them are people that mentored or coached me, and then the roles switched over a decade.
Wow.
So it's all been, these women are telling raw, amazing, vulnerable, complete, like, when you read this book, Adam,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
will be shocked of how brave they were of just
Mm.
telling their stories and what to do about it. I was even shocked. I had to push back on some of them. Are like, "Are you
Yeah.
sure you want this in the book?" And you know
Wow.
what they said? They said, "The only way I can manage my imposter syndrome is just get it out there, and
Mm.
now I can move on."
Yeah. Wow, what an amazing story. So as you brought go a little bit further into, I want to back up on one thing you said here. So you mentioned some of the individuals maybe you had mentored, they'd mentor you. Like obviously you have a big network. This has been a passionate topic for you for a long time. Two things, and obviously we're not, you don't have to list everyone, but give us a flavor for the audience of like who's in the book, like why you chose them, maybe like you can keep it high level, but give us some ideas around that.
I will first answer why I wanted them in the book, and I had a
Mhm.
long I wrote down 50 names,
I believe. Oh
and
man, who didn't
and
make the? All right, let's start over. Who didn't make the cut? Let's. No, I'm just playing with you.
no,
I'm
but
just
no,
playing.
I wrote 50 names
Yeah.
easily. I've worked with over 100
Wow.
people over the decades.
I
The
knew it. Yeah.
the women I picked were the ones who have done the largest journey, the largest uplift. So
Yeah.
Martha is one of the first ones. Her chapter is the second chapter after I sort of tell my story of why this is a
Mm-hmm.
passion of mine. And she talks about her chapter is about imposter syndrome because the
Mm.
book starts with imposter syndrome, self awareness, and sort of recalibrating your mindset. And then it goes
Yeah.
into leadership and how you use these skills in your corporate job, in your startup, or if you're a
Mm-hmm.
founder. And then it goes into more like really how you take it 10x and
Mm.
for executives and others. But the book is if everyone goes through the book, they will have a massive roadmap for a massive transformation.
Mm.
Martha, it was someone I worked with 12, 14 years ago. She and I was both entry levels at a company, and I kept seeing her in the office, like delivering this like perfect product launches.
Yeah.
She was a product, or she was a writer to begin with, and one day I just but every single meeting she apologized. She said, "I'm so
Oh.
sorry," or like she always prefaced everything with this super negative self-talk. And I just asked her,
Mm.
"Have you ever heard of imposter syndrome?" And she hadn't, and she Googled it, and she's like, "Okay, I clearly am suffering." She worked on herself. She is today
Wow.
she was a chief revenue officer in a startup right
Yeah.
now, and she's been VP of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Another person in there was she is her name is Carolina. She was
Mm-hmm.
born in Mexico, and she tells a story of how she sort of was she moved to US when she was young. She grew up here
Mm.
in Texas, or in Texas. I'm in California, but she grew up in Texas, and she tells the story of how she sort of conditioned her own mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
we talk about imposter syndrome. She and I actually worked together. I was coaching and mentoring her,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like in recent years. But she runs a business that does very well. She's a CEO and the founder of a luxury painting company, like think painting mansions, and
Wow.
all her employees are macho, like she says in the book, macho Mexicans.
That's
And
awesome.
and she is very, very female,
Mm-hmm.
very, typical,
Feminine. Yeah.
very feminine. Thank you for the
Yeah.
word. Very
Mm-hmm.
feminine, but she still leads with massive authority, and she's
Mm.
very firm, but very warm. And
Yeah.
that's another third person would be Janne. Janne was my mentor, almost 14 years ago. I mean, she have led organizations with 2,500 people, um,
Wow.
like big, and she was in Nokia. You remember the old cell phone Nokia?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
she was
yeah.
running big projects there, or she was vice president something. And she helped me early on to sort of work through as I was working into the role of becoming a leader and
Mm.
being the insecure overachiever. She actually helped me with some of those things. She have also made a tremendous journey. What she talks about
Wow.
in the book is the boys club, and how the boys
Mhm.
club really can be, how do I say, very hard to break through and hard to
Mhm.
manage. So she tells stories when in the book where she worked for Nokia. She was in Finland, and their sauna is a big part of the culture. And
Mm.
she's like, "What am I supposed to go sit half naked with all men in a sauna just so I can be part of the boys club? That's not
Yeah,
happening."
yeah.
So she tells the story how she found her own way around that, and how to sort of not break into it, but work
Yeah.
alongside it. and not at
Man,
all.
that's a that's
I
a
can keep
great
going, but
but you know what's interesting about that to me though is some of these like norms, like societal norms that we take for granted. Like we don't realize how sometimes those can like polarize others and not include others that may be the best person for the gig in the first place or for the job or for the role. And it's kind of like it's just because the other person's in front of you sometimes, or because they're going to the same thing or they have the same preference. Like maybe you smoke cigars and everybody likes smoking cigars in this particular niche. And now, if you're allergic to smoke and or you don't prefer to smoke cigars, then you're kind of out of even the club, even maybe as a male, like in that same scenario that I gave. So that's interesting. I didn't think about a sauna. That's
Oh,
next
no,
level.
there are
That's
so
next
many
level.
balls,
Yeah.
bar, dinners.
Yeah.
It's a lot of executives who tends to drink a little bit too much, and if
Hmm.
you don't have that interest, it's hard to be part of it. Me
Yeah.
personally, I don't drink, but that's because I had heart issues earlier in life.
Hmm.
That's a different story all by itself.
Yeah.
But I wanted to point this out. The way I have structured the book, very intentional, is
Mm.
to give in every chapter is about what it's about, like imposter syndrome, or how to break through the boys club, or how to
Hmm.
manage political situations, or how to learn to say no, or how
Yeah.
to build like your own network of people and your
Yeah.
own how to accelerate. So these are all the topics of the book. But
Mm.
every chapter has here's the introduction, and then we hear these amazing badass stories from these
Yeah.
leaders of
Yeah.
what they did and all the tools they had. And then we together have worked through, so like tools I have used, tools they have used, and
Hmm.
then we say here are the 5 things you can do today to make a difference or overcome this dilemma you have. And
Yeah.
then I address the leaders, because back to the norms of society, and I'm saying leaders as in women and men.
Mm.
Then I say, here is what you, dear leader, can do, because it doesn't just because others will do basically take out their brilliance, or sorry,
Yeah.
amplify their brilliance.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean it will automatically happen unless we have leaders. So even if the
Yeah.
book is written for women, it is
Hmm.
also written for leaders that are men and women. And
Mm.
I've written to them and saying, here is how you support a change. Here is what you can do. And I'm very provocative in the beginning of the book. And I
Yeah.
say, dear leaders, you happen to be a man. You had a mother. You might have daughters.
Mm.
You have a wife. You are doing the world the disfavor, or you're not helping the world
Hmm.
unless you take this serious. So that's why I want men to read this book as well.
Yeah. So talk to me about the plan for continuing to promote, continuing to collaborate, continuing to get the message out there. And I know we got a book launch coming up, an event coming up, and what else? Like talk to me about like what's next and how you're going to get this word out there and this very important message out.
First of all, we're launching the book on September 25, but you can already now go and order it off of
Hmm.
Amazon. You just search for Power Without Permission.
Yeah.
I'm doing an online event at 4 p.m. Pacific that day. I'm giving away 200 books. I'm giving away leadership coaching from me. So if
Yeah.
someone is listening and they want this, and I charge for this today, because this is when my side business is that when I work with CEOs and founders
Hmm.
today, I work with them, I mentor them, and I advise them, and board members as well. But I'm giving that away, and it's something I charge. So I'm giving away $30,000 worth of coaching,
Mm.
which is I can help any of the listeners that feel they're doubting themselves, have an imposter syndrome. I'll help them. In addition to that, 100% of all revenue, not profits, from book
Yeah.
sales goes straight into a free community for everyone who buys the book. And this
Wow. Hmm.
community is me and all the co-authors in it. And we
Yeah.
will do weekly calls. We developed so much extra material that couldn't fit the book
Mm.
because it would become too long. There
Yeah.
is 5 online courses that are, I mean, just in terms of
Wow.
slides and pages, it's hundreds of pages, or 100 plus slides going through all of this. All of that is for free for anyone who buys
Mm.
the book. My dream is for this Power Without Permission community is that
Yeah.
we find mentor-mentee matches. So we start matching. So I want people to come there that are both male allies and women that are
Mm.
strong leaders that want to help the next generation or help younger leaders to
Yeah.
help them overcome some of these things. And then I want people who have imposter syndrome, doubt, to come to this free community,
Yeah.
and hopefully we can match the two, and hopefully we'll find a way how to drive the change. And like I said, I'm not making any money on this book. I'm reinvesting it
Mhm.
all into the community. And what I'm
Mm.
doing is I'm basically giving the co-authors part of this, and I'm basically paying for developing more and more tools and
Yeah.
more things within there. That's how I will reuse the money. But oh, and like I said, I'm giving away 200 books or reimbursing. So if someone buys a book at the launch event and they send, this is the online launch event, and
Mhm,
they just
mhm.
send a photo of themselves with the book, I will literally send, even if the book is $15, I will send them a $20 Amazon gift card if
Mm.
they post that on social media.
Dang, that's a steal. I'm in. I
Free
want my
book.
Amazon gift card. Come on. No. That's awesome.
No, but I want the
Mhm.
change. This is like
Yeah.
I said, my wife is all the time like, "Are you sure we wanna do this? Are you sure?" Like, "Yes, we have to do
Yes.
this." Like, this is,
Yes.
and my mother is turning 80
Oh.
on September 19th. Originally, I wanted to launch the book on September 19th,
Mhm.
and I already read her, like, the parts of the book, and
Mm.
she was so proud because one of the key message I say in the book is, she helped me. She always says, everyone, like, don't judge people based on their backgrounds, their gender,
Mm.
or their beliefs.
Yeah.
Everyone have a unique brilliance in them, and that's why I use the word brilliance.
Mhm.
Uh, you just have to figure out what it is. So get curious and help other people. So everyone I have helped for the last 1.5 decade, I've said, if I help you, you have to help 5 other people, 5 other women.
Mm.
So I have also been pushing this pay it forward for quite some time. And I will do the same in the community. So anyone listening to this who joins, who
Mhm.
feels like I want to give back, if I help you, all I ask in return is that you do it, that you help
Yeah.
5 other people. And I still do paid things as part of Leaders Adapt, which is my
Mhm.
company, but I also still do a lot of pro bono
Yeah.
help other young women.
Man, Andreas, this has been a lot of fun having you on. I can't let you off the line without to us bringing up. Come on, you're a podcaster, man. Adapt or Die podcast. Like, I got to get a plug in there, man. Tell me about the show. How's it going? Like, I've watched the content coming out. I'm very proud to say that it's on the missionmatters.com website. Of course, all the other places too, but I'm super proud to be a part of and help distribute that. But talk to me, man. How are you feeling behind the other side of the mic?
It's unusual these days. No, I have to say, you guys have been amazing for any listeners out there. And Adam didn't ask me to do this. Shirag, Adam, you guys are amazing. The team you have, you really developed a good tools. Everything just flows. The service is great, so I highly recommend it. Um, I created that podcast because, kind of like the book, you either adapt or die. Because
Yeah.
I've seen so many people who do the same pattern over and over and over again and then
Mm.
expect different results. And you heard that expression. That's the definition of insanity, doing the
Yeah.
same thing and expecting different results. As a leader, people don't talk about those adapt or die, do or die moments,
Yeah.
and they only talk about, "Oh, I made this many millions here, and I sold
Yeah.
this here." It's like, no one cares. Like, what did you feel? What was going on in your mind? Like, tell me how you like, tell me when the imposter
Mm.
came out. Tell me when the insecure overachiever. Like, what conversations did you have with your wife? And I'm
Mm.
fascinated by those because US culture always talks about the win, and I want to talk about like the mindset that people
Yeah.
go through, and because that's what younger entrepreneurs needs to hear. They need to understand
Mm.
what can, like, it's okay to feel like, it's okay that, yeah, I'm grinding and I feel like shit. That's
Yeah.
okay, but it's not always like grind and not feel anything. I'm afraid we're creating a society of very non-emotionally attached, especially young men who are just
Mm.
told to keep grinding. I don't subscribe to that. So I created the
Yeah.
podcast to say normalize. It's okay as a leader, even, and I have on CEOs and founders and people who
Mhm.
made a ton of money in their lives, but they're all raw, open, and we talk about the hard, like the really hard times from a leadership perspective. And
Yeah.
I've got a lot of people who reached out and like, oh, I was in the same situation and I can relate to that person. I actually haven't been telling you that, but that happens almost every single week now, where
Wow.
someone thank you for telling me that. Is it okay if I reach out to the guest? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Like that's what it's there.
Wow. That's
Sorry,
amazing. I
I
love
get
it. And it
passionate about these
no,
topics.
I love it. And one of the things too about this is that and I tell people this all the time is that people listen to your show, and if it resonates with like if they connect with your message and what you're talking about, you're gonna be shocked. People will be reaching out, like they'll be like, and I know you're still just you're in your first year of kind of like developing and getting, and you're gonna evolve. And even though you're great now, you're gonna get better. That's just what happens. Like you get better and better over time. And so what's going to happen is it's going to be funny the first time you go to an event or somewhere else and somebody just runs up to you and hugs you and you're like, what's going on? Like, or somebody recognizes you and you're like, I've never even been to this city before, but because people are listening to your show, and ultimately like they have a connection and you're providing a service, not just for yourself or for, I mean, there's the obvious things that people consider when they think about podcasts. Okay, we're going to do some branding. Okay, we're going to get some marketing, some message. But when you realize and when it like really hits that it's an ability to help plug into and to uplift humanity by this connection that we get to create with each other, man, it's magic. Like life just
Yeah.
gives you such amazing experiences. You attract amazing things, and it just becomes like one of these things you sit back and you're like, whoa, like what just happened?
I'm not really at that stage yet, Adam,
Oh,
but
it's coming though, but
yeah,
I'm predicting the
yeah.
future. Your book, like what you're doing, I don't say this to everyone. Everyone that starts a podcast, that's not their future, but you've already proved it. Like the book, the individuals you've brought together, the model. You didn't have to create that model. You know how to make money. You could have created a completely different model that just created a funnel to make more money. Instead, you're reinvesting, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, for anybody that's doing that. And nor you're not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but instead you're leading with a different type of value by bringing people together. You could have spent the same budget you put on putting this together and not brought together 13 extraordinary women, and you could have just told your story and you could have made it another entrepreneurial story, but you didn't, and
No.
that's different. And
And
you're
I can tell
reimbursing the
you,
money into the community. And if you would have done that, that wouldn't have been bad. Nothing wrong with that. And then you're also made the decision to reinvest into the community. So you have demonstrated to your audience, which will trust you based on these things over time, and it will all continue to grow because all these things you did, you didn't have to.
no,
It's kind of like the way Mission Matters set up our platform. If me and Chirag just wanted to make this an influencer platform, guess what? We wouldn't have created opportunities for other people. We would have marketed my name and my face and made sure everybody on the planet saw it at least once. And over time, we'd make more money that way. But instead, we're focused on how do we amplify the stories of others. It's a
I love
different mission. It's a different mission, and it's a different reinvestment on the back end of resources to create opportunities to be able to help a show like yours get off the ground and do what it does. Like that's different. We didn't have to do that, but that's a choice because we want to be a part of that solution ultimately. So that's what Chirag and I are very aligned with. You know, going on our 10-year anniversary, I swiped right on LinkedIn with him, never looked back.
he's a great guy, and the way he because I was shopping around. I'll say this to the listeners, and
Mhm.
I'll say it to you, Adam. But when I met Chirag in person, I met him at a few networking events. But when I met him and really sat down, and he
Yeah.
told his own story and he told why this matters for him, then I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, sold. Let's go.
Yeah.
um, mission have to matter, and I think we can go off on a tangent to talk about this
Yeah.
for hours. The importance of having a vision and a mission for anyone who does anything, so
Mhm.
important. And
Yeah.
that's what gets you going. And if you don't love it, like 99% love it, and it doesn't
Yeah.
get you excited 90% of the time, it's not a true vision or mission.
Mm. I think that's a good way to end it. Andreas, how do people connect? How do they follow up to learn about your podcast, your company, of course? You do coaching as well. So you that's a piece of what you're doing as well. And then of course the book, like any other places that they can stay in tune with all these updates that you're gonna have coming out as the promo begins, because this is just the beginning. I already know.
Just the beginning. Let's grow. I think the easiest way, two ways. Go to leadersadapt.com, and
Mhm.
on there you will find both the podcast as well as there is a link to the book straight on the page. The
Hmm.
alternative is just go find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can just search for Andreas the CEO, and I have a fair. I mean, I have not crazy amount of activities on Instagram and LinkedIn, but I'm ramping it up now because the book have taken a lot of time. But those
Oh
are the
yeah.
best places. And then I would say to the listeners, remember what I said. I'm reimbursing 200 books. You will find the webinar where you can register for this if you just go to those 2 links,
Mm.
or you can just reach out on Instagram and I will give you the link. The book won't cost you anything, and there is still spaces left. We are a little bit more than halfway there. I can say
Mm.
that we had about 150 registrants yesterday, which
Yeah.
means that you can get a free book and you can make a big difference in
Mm.
someone else's life by giving the book away as well. And for men listeners, like, you are allies. You have daughters, you have mothers. Like, come on, help other people out. Let's drive a
Mm.
change. Buy the book, give it to someone, or read it yourself. Like, I promise you will learn something. And last thing I will say, if you read this book, please give love to the 13 amazing, badass, brilliant leaders in the book, because they show confidence, they show vulnerability, and they're amazing human beings, like
Mm.
absolutely amazing people. Please show them love. They all deserve it. And honestly, try to snag some of them if you want to recruit them.
That's awesome. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can connect with Andres and of course the book and everything else. So don't worry about that. And if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day I'm bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration on your path and on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Andres, thanks so much, man. Glad we could finally get you on here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Amazing. Love your guys' mission.